Uh, I'm originally from Austria and have ordained about 30 years ago in the Thai forest tradition and trained in Asia and in England in the lineage of Ajahn Chah. And I'm here in America since about 2009. And I'm currently living in the Aloka Earth Room in San Rafael. And I would just like to start, with a very short settling in meditation. So please, find a posture to really, take your seat and, allowing your breath to take you into the body. Sensing, the gravity of the earth, which gently pulls us downward. And just, noticing how you are today, what you're bringing as you are landing here in the Zoom room. How is the body feeling? What's your emotional state right now? And how is the mind? Is it relaxed? Is it contracted? Just knowing what is there. No need to have anything different than what it is, but just being aware of it. And simply knowing that you're breathing in when you are breathing in, and knowing that you are breathing out when you are breathing out. So, we are training our minds by paying attention to something rather boring, not exciting at all. It's just the body breathing. As long as there is air available, it's actually not exciting. But if air is not there, we're gonna get really activated. But for now, everything is okay. You made it into the Zoom room. And today I'd like to speak about gathering our resources and, training our minds to look at that which is usually hidden. And through this kind of training, becoming more conscious of our embeddedness in nature. So rerouting ourselves in nature consciously. We, of course, always are embedded in nature. And I will later on, lead a guided meditation where we have a direct experience of that. But in this day and age, with increasing pressure on all of our systems, as the limitations of the biosphere of our home planet becomes more pronounced, it's getting more and more people. The climate crisis is more and more intensifying, and territorial wars are more brutal and crazy than ever before. We really don't know what to do. The complexity is incredible. Nobody can get their head around it. We just had another COP28 in Dubai, which was, very, very extreme spectrum of viewpoints. And, at this point in history, I don't think there's any solution on that level anymore achievable. But I think what we really need to look at is to take ourselves out from the center of our world, to no longer think that Homo sapiens can control all of this, can fix it, or can be in charge of this. So, to just now allow a completely new thought into the mind, which is, it might not be entirely up to us to save the day, so to say. This is something new, because before we were always like trained in trying to achieve mastery over nature, trying to, get as much as we can out of it. And these days, this approach has really run us into the wall. And there's increasing more clarity for people, that this cannot be sustained. Just have to stop for a moment because the heating system here is very loud. So thank you, I'm back. So, sitting with that trouble of, that we actually can never be masters of the earth. To really allow that to drop into our systems is quite disturbing, because it's a new way of looking at ourselves and looking at life. And, to allow that thought without reducing it to apathy is something which is a practice in itself. And that's what I'd like to speak about today. Because, saving the day, saving the world as it was maybe before COVID or so isn't really gonna be working anyway. Because we are already, noticing that the way how we live in a world, where more and more people are coming and more of the environments become no longer inhabitable for Homo sapiens. We really need to find a way to look at all of this very, very differently, and to explore that truth, is very triggering, of course. And this is why so many people are not really doing that exploration. But, we can make it a practice to bit by bit allow those thoughts, to be metabolized in community, together with others, just like here tonight, because it's very scary, to do that by yourself. And, as much as we need a critique of the old ways of conducting life on this planet, we also need creativity if we want to find, a way forward, which, can't be done with the dualistic thinking mind, I think. But we need to engage with an intelligence which is much vaster than human intelligence. And that's exactly, the intelligence of the web of life, which is always in and outside of us. We are inside of it, we are part of it. But we have not learned, to pay attention to it in a way which is instructive. And that's, what I try to do here with the Aloka Earth Room where I'm teaching from today. This is the main, vision of the Earth Room is to support us, to realize that we are part of a living, intelligent Earth, and that we are not separate from the Earth. So, to do this work is also a way of meditating. It's mainly, the first establishment of mindfulness, meditating on the body. And through that, we can experience ourselves in a very different way than usual. And, the first establishment of mindfulness, the first Satipatthana, has usually 3 kinds of meditations in it. Meditation on the body parts, meditation on the elements, and meditation on dying. And today we're mainly going to work, with the body parts and the elements. And in that way, to align ourselves with that intelligence, which is capable, of healing the fragmentation of our world. And, learning to experience ourselves in a different way than usual. And, to restore that relationship with the flow of life. As we have been now for quite a few decades, we have really tried through hyper-individualism, to solve our problems, and that hasn't really done the job as it was intended. But what we have lost a sense of context, and we have removed ourselves more and more from the truth, that we are totally interdependent with each other and with the planet. So that, that fragmentation and disconnection has rendered us pretty dysfunctional. We have actually succeeded in destroying our own life support systems, which is pretty crazy thing to do. By simply not paying attention in the right way, and, paying attention to things which are not really life enhancing, but rather, um, selling and buying stuff and doing all of these things, which are not really life enhancing, but they can make money, maybe, but it's all much too disconnected, from that which is really important in life. So this new catchphrase, attention economy, is now, coming more and more into the mainstream, because we realize even attention is limited. A human being can only pay so much attention. And even that, is something one can make money with and can be manipulated and, extracted just like anything else. So it's a really intense realization, to find ourselves at this point in our evolution that we have been barking up the wrong tree, we could say. And now we can come back, to who we really are. And, the Buddha's teaching can help us, to attune to our deep embeddedness with nature. And nature is Dharma, and Dharma is nature. To really put things back in the right place. And weave ourselves back into the fabric of life, consciously experiencing interbeing. And then from that place, letting responses emerge, from that much vaster web of intelligence. And that will be solutions, which we can suddenly see because we are looking in a different way. Because what you are seeing always depends in how you are looking. So, if we are working on our capacity for attunement and relationship with our bodies, from that, we can enter into this much vaster web of life, which is consisting of the same elements as our bodies do. So through that, we have a direct line into the web through our bodies. But usually we are a lot in our thinking mind, looking at screens and doing this, doing that, and completely forgetting that there's a body here. So we need to inhabit our bodies again. And through that, coming back and sensing into the body, through the body, sensing into this much vaster web of life, the connection is reestablished. The neural pathways, are reopened. And that is kind of maybe not very comfortable. And in the beginning, maybe even, a little bit challenging and boring and all of that, because we need to come back into relationship, and then, life starts to flow again. The data flow is established again. And then through the data flow, we can receive information into our formation, into our bodies, understanding not through the thinking mind, but through direct experience, through sensing, and more an intuitive way of establishing connection. So, that was my little introduction to the guided meditation, because the main teaching today is a guided meditation again, because I think that works much better, rather than speaking about it. I rather, invite you to sense into those invitations I will mention, and you don't have to work hard. You're just, listening and allowing the mind and the heart to respond, because they know what to do if we just are present to what is being said. And the reason why I'm teaching in this way is because, solutions from a disconnected place do not really gain traction. They're just repetition compulsion of doing the same thing and the same thing and the same thing over and over again, and hoping, there will be different results. But what we are doing today is we rerouting ourselves into the web of life and allow solutions to arise from there, to emerge. It's another catchphrase these days, emergence. And that's not going to happen immediately in 1 minute doing the meditation, but it's a practice. It's a method, really, of circumventing the dualistic thinking mind, which is so caught up, and using the body as a instrument, to connect into the web, like a phone, in a way. The body can be used like that. So please, come along with me and try to respond to those series of invitations. Just 1% is enough. It's not a grand kind of a thing, but it's micro adjustments. Every time if something clicks into place, there's a little adjustment. That's how it goes. So we can start by noticing, that we have arms and legs and that we are breathing. So with the in-breath, the body expands. With the out-breath, we just let go into the spaciousness, into the ground, allowing, the tension to drop into the ground. And connecting with body sitting and breathing in and breathing out. So there are many systems in our bodies working for us, doing their best without us getting involved. The digestive system is one. Just noticing that. You might have had, dinner before you come online. Noticing how it works without us doing anything much. And then the respiratory system, the breathing also happening by itself. The circulatory system, the bloodstream being pumped all around the body through the heart, all happening by itself. The nervous system being able to sense the body as it sits and breathes. The fluid system keeping our bodies moist. Bodies which are consisting of about 70% of water. Our skeletal system which holds us up. And our endocrine system, the hormones which keeps the body delicately balanced. All of those systems, they work together and find coherence and harmony without us doing anything. This is a miracle in itself. So, learning to honor this intelligence, which is innate, to those biocomputers we call our body, which have been handed down to us over billions of years. They have been developed, and now we got one. So this, orchestra of systems working together. See what comes up, as you're looking at your body in this way. The complexity. And the fact that these bodies are developed with such long stretch of time, starting with, stardust and ending up in this way, sitting in front of a computer, having all those very complex systems working for us without us even noticing most of the time. And now we are going to connect, to the broader systems around us. All of those systems I have been speaking about, they are connected with those vast systems all around us through energetic roots by way of eating, drinking, breathing, going to the bathroom, sweating, crying. There's so many ways, how we are constantly exchanging with these broader systems all around us. The mountains and the rocks, which are in our bodies, and we can experience them in the bones and in the teeth as earth element. You can just maybe, press your teeth together and experience the hardness of the teeth, which is a direct experience of earth element. Then we can sweep from the top of the head, sweeping down, and experience the hardness of the bones, earth element. Coming from the head, coming to the neck, vertebrae, hardness, earth element. Shoulders and the arms and hands, bones, hardness, earth element. Rib cage and the spine, bones, hardness, earth element. The hips and the pelvis, hardness, earth element. The legs and the feet, bones, hardness, earth element. This whole body is permeated by earth element. Earth element internally in the bones, and earth element externally in the rocks and the mountains is exactly the same earth element. Earth element is empty of a self. And if we don't eat earth element for 1 or 2 months, the body is going to shut down. We can't live. We never cut the umbilical cord towards this broader system we call planet Earth. Our bodies are part of the planet. Our bodies are the planet. And then, in order for earth element to make a form, it needs cohesion, and that is water element, stands for cohesion, wetness, fluidity. And we can experience that in the softness of the flesh, which is permeated by water element. We can start, by the feet, sensing flesh, water element. And then coming up over the legs to the pelvis, flesh, water element. Torso, with the intestines and the organs, flesh, water element. The hands and the arms, flesh, water element. the shoulders and the neck, flesh, water element. The head, flesh, water element. This whole body is permeated by water element. Water element internally and water element externally in the rivers and the lakes, the oceans and the rains is exactly the same water element. Water element is empty of a self. And if we don't drink water element for about 5 days or so, the body is going to shut down. It cannot cut the umbilical cord to the biosphere. It's constantly in exchange. Then in order for water element, to be part of a form, it needs to have a certain temperature. If it's too hot, it evaporates. If it's too cold, it's freezing. And that takes us to the next element, which is the fire element, which stands for hot and cold. And we can experience that on the surface of the skin. The skin is an organ, all around the body. And when the air touches it, we can sense hot and cold in the mouth, for example, under our arms. And sweeping down again from the head, skin, fire element. Over the neck and the shoulders, skin, fire element. The arms and the hands, skin, fire element. Torso, pelvis, skin, fire element. Legs and feet, skin, fire element. This whole body is permeated by fire element. Fire element internally and fire element externally, which comes from the sun, the nearest star to this planet, is exactly the same fire element. Fire element is empty of a self. And then, the heat is the result of friction, which takes us to the next element, which is the wind element, which stands for movement, expansion and contraction. And we become aware of it through the breathing process. Which takes us right into the body. And we know that the oxygen which we are breathing in is produced by the plant world, which is using the CO2 which we are breathing out. That's why it is so important for us, to regenerate our forests, because they can't handle the amount of CO2 which we are putting into the atmosphere. So really, taking in this delicate interdependence of the web of life on this planet, It cannot be controlled by one species. It cannot be understood with the dualistic thinking mind. It is much more mysterious than that. This mystery we can only relate to through sensing, not through thinking. So by simply noticing, how do you feel when you look at your body in this way? Can you experience yourself as part of the web of life more fully? The mystery, the wonder of all of this. And the real need, for us to come back to the ground and, attend to our animal nature more fully and not just, to cultivate the mind, the thinking mind. But also cultivating that relationship with the web of life, which enables us to actually be here. That's, why the Buddha was touching the earth in the night of his awakening. He was asking, the earth to be his witness that he had been completing his work. Looks like we have still a lot to do. By, embodying fully before it can be left behind. So we can just, imagine to send some roots down into the earth from our feet or from our seat, sending roots down to meet the earth like a plant is sending down its roots. A tree, for example, down into the beautiful networks underneath the surface of the earth, the root systems, the mycelium, just allowing our awareness, to drop down in this way. Becoming part of this fabric, this network. So is there any felt sense of that huge network to which you actually belong, like any other being on this planet that connects us all? Even, we don't see it with our eyes, but we can sense it if we open ourselves towards that. Experience ourselves as a fully networked organism, like all other organisms. From the most complex to the most simple. They're all fully networked with the biosphere and with each other. And through that, we are able to access the intelligence of that vast field of life if we allow that possibility to come to life. And if you allow that possibility, notice if what's happening in you, what's changing as you allow yourself, to have that perception that this is actually something we really can do, to open those doors, which we have forgotten. Indigenous cultures, are still practicing in this way, but our culture has forgotten that in pursuit, of other aims and goals, which are now starting to lose their luster. We need to come back. We need to come back to the ground. And we can. And there's, practices out there. It all, goes very well with the Buddha's teaching on emptiness and dependent origination. So really noticing and enjoying that we have all of the resources in us. We just need to pay attention in the right way. And that we actually can connect with solutions in that way. Especially, if we do it as a community, creating those pockets of sanity, leaving behind the beaten tracks of capitalism and consumerist culture and going into the underground, which has always been here, but we forgot it. It has been taken for granted. And connecting with the modern human world as something we can learn from rather than extract from. Something we can attune ourselves to, something we can align ourselves with. And making that establishing of connectedness a priority and allowing solutions to emerge from there. Rather than, emerging from the laboratories, completely disconnected from life. A complete different approach. Which is called emergence these days. So, feeling and sensing, coming alive again. That's what our world needs right now. And after we have been trying to create comfort, endless comfort, and created a lot of discomfort actually, because it's not going that way. The life has its ups and downs, and we need to be able to feel both the highs and the lows. This is how we keep connected. We can't just have one side of the whole equation and not the other. It doesn't really work. It creates a lot of havoc because it's not the way how nature works. It's not about our comfort, this planet. That's not the priority of what's happening here. Then as you are experiencing that meditations, looking, is there a willingness there? Is there what can be called like the evolutionary urge, to update, basically, to update our minds and our bodies. And, coming into attunement with what is needed at this time. And being willing to sit in that. And sensing that there is energy, a vibration, a vibrancy in that urge to evolve, which we can be nourished by. And I think, that's a way how the Dharma presents at this time, as we are, on this evolutionary threshold, with lots of confusion and fear of uncertainty, not knowing what to do, getting depressed, getting anxious and all of that. And then just dropping all of that and coming to the ground where we are right now. And these bodies, are our connection into that network, into that web, which can teach us what to do. If we have the wisdom, to slow down. Times are urgent. We need to slow down. And really see, that the response to the crisis is part of the crisis. So that is not the way to go. It's just making it worse. Best thing is to just stop and look deeply. And, drop into that web, come back to that which has given birth to us in the first place, which is the Dharma. In one way we can call it that. Dharma is nature, and we are part of nature. We are nature, actually. We have never fallen out of it, but we haven't noticed it for so long because we were doing all kinds of other things, which has gotten us into trouble. And now we need to sit in that trouble and metabolize and update and reconsider what is happening, what is really important. And, being with the discomfort of that. It's like the contractions when a woman gives birth. They are part of the preparation for what comes next. It's a way, how to become resilient. So that this new way of being can be embodied. So rather than scrambling, to get back to how it was before, just getting getting interested what's coming through the cracks. And, sensing into those cracks, this urge to evolve, to respond to that calling by paying attention and not distracting oneself from that calling. Which, like in the old language, we might have called it, faith, sada. Which, is necessary for wisdom to be embodied. Without sada, the knife might be sharp, but it doesn't have the weight to cut through. With all the ancestors behind us, have been handing us these bodies, and we are doing what we can, and then we are handing it off to the future generations. And this is the work, we have as a human being, and the Buddha has been doing it. So, adding something small to that inheritance we have received. By, being willing to look at the feedback, we are receiving from planet Earth, and really taking it to heart, not in a sense of, being bad or being wrong, but just without any judgment. This is how an immature species operates, We are the youngest species on this earth, and we are accordingly, immature in how we deal with our emotions mainly. That's our biggest issue. Fighting over everything constantly in the most crazy ways. Like small children So, being aware of what comes up for you as you're hearing that, as you are experiencing your body in this way. You're seeing your life in this context, which is much more than just having comfort every moment of the day. And noticing the silence and the space around us and the vibrancy of that empty space, the fullness of the emptiness. The unmanifest wisdom and compassion which we can open to. To allow us to inform us in the true sense of the word, becoming part of our form. As the pressures of the current times are calling us into a different way of conducting business. The business of, living an embodied life. And that calling, we can identify that as the urge to evolve, or we can also call it faith, sada, that we can do this. We have always been doing this. But there are sometimes more intense stretches on the path, such as what's happening right now. As we come to kind of a bottleneck. And then we can call on the ancestors which have come before us, which have been going through those bottlenecks again and again. It's like a giving birth. Giving birth into a more mature way of being on the planet. And also being aware of that which knows about what is being said, which knows about the spaciousness and the silence, the knowing itself, awareness. And the vibrancy of that. So in a few moments, I'm gonna ring the bell, and then, when you slowly open your eyes, try to not lose connection with the body. As you're coming back into the Zoom room, trying to stay connected with your body, while at the same time also taking in, who is here with you. Then slowly, if there are any questions or comments or sharings, you'll be welcome for, maybe unmuting yourself if that's possible, or raising your hand, and you will be unmuted, and then speaking if you like. We have about 20 minutes or so for that, or 15. Please, take your time. There's no rush. We have time. Times are urgent. We need to slow down. So I'm gonna dedicate the merit, to all of us, that we manage to come off the screens and go out more into the nature and meet each other again. May you have every good blessing. May all the devas protect you by the power of all the Buddhas. May you ever be well. May you have every good blessing. May all the devas protect you by the power of all the Dhamma. May you ever be well. May you have every good blessing. May all the devas protect you by the power of all the Sangha. May you ever be well. Good night.